Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Filthy Talk. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. If this is your first time here, then welcome, and thank you, Filthy followers who have already subscribed, and please keep sharing and keep watching. We do this for you.
Yeah.
And well, kind of for ourselves, a little bit for ourselves. I mean, I'm having fun.
Yeah, I'm having fun too.
Yeah.
Definitely it's for ourselves. I mean, no, it's for you.
Yeah.
And a little bit ourselves.
Right, for you. It's for you.
That's why, yeah.
As always, I'm Trevor Gemma. I mean, it's questionable at times, but Chris Livingston is back again. Now, this is definitely a record.
This is. Now it's a record. Now
Yeah.
it's actually continuously here.
Yeah.
It's new.
Yeah.
There you go.
3 in a row.
Yeah.
More power to you.
Yeah.
And a familiar face to my left from episode 2.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. Crystal
Welcome back.
Persis is back.
I'm excited to be here.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yes. And for the first time, the illustrious Kevin Fung.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
Welcome. Yes.
Sorry. And also, Ryan White could not be with us today, so joining us, another familiar face, Roz Young is our fact checker and chat liaison. So if you're watching us live, please say hi to her, and she'll give you some sass maybe.
There you
No,
go.
she's too nice for
Not
sass.
maybe.
Very nice sass.
Yeah.
Very nice sass.
A lovely
Very pleasant sass.
So I brought in something. I
Beer.
remembered to do it this time,
Yep.
so that we're all going to have the same beer this time around. I brought in from a local North Van that's really close by. They make a lot of really great beers. But
Yep.
this is House of Funk Brewing in North Vancouver.
It's so pretty.
And they have really cool art on all of their cans.
I like this. I don't know if
I'm
it's
just going to hold this here for you for a
Very
second.
nice.
But
I do love Mia. How's
they,
it
the same style of art is all in their stuff. And they got a lot of good beers. This is their Juno, which is a dry hopped sour ale. I have had this before, and I liked it so much that I brought it in for everyone.
With blood orange, guava, and vanilla. See, the vanilla is where it gets a little.
It's not super sweet. It's and the hoppiness in it. I've talked previously on the show about dry hopping and how that's palatable for me as opposed to like regular amount of hops. When people like over hop
Color
something and
is
it's super bitter.
This color is not what I expected. Although I suppose that now that I think about it with the guava, yeah, definitely some bits
Oh,
came
that's
out
what I'm
there.
spelling.
It does
I'm
look a
spelling
little
guava.
Oh, there's some chunks.
Yeah, some chunks came out at the end there. I'm gonna assume that's supposed to be there. The smell though, you can really smell the guava.
Yeah, totally.
Vanilla always makes
Yeah.
me nervous in a beer.
Really?
More because I've seen it done wrong too much. People go too heavy on the vanilla, and it's such a strong flavor. So
Syrupy.
I love this beer.
I don't know why, but you guys go
Ooh.
for the smell.
It's really
I
light.
always do it instinctively, but I don't have a sense of smell. So what I'm tasting is not what you guys are tasting.
You don't have a sense of
So wait.
smell?
I do not have a sense of smell.
that really must affect your taste.
I wouldn't know because this
That's
has been my
fair.
entire life.
That's
of
fair.
tasting
So
the
you
same
were
thing.
born with no sense of smell.
I think I broke my nose when I was 3 years old, and just
Oh no.
my parents were like, "Oh, he'll be fine."
Oh no! Oh damn!
Yeah, there you go.
So is it's no sense of smell?
No
Period.
sense of
It's not
smell,
like a
but I
weak
do
sense?
taste.
But you do taste. So
Yeah.
what does it taste like to you?
Huh.
A little tangy, a little sweet. Like I definitely get a little bit of hoppy.
Oh, okay.
But, that's as far as I can go in descriptors.
Interesting. Yeah.
But after 2, these it all tastes the same to me.
Fair enough.
I mean, that's most beer.
yeah.
It's really clean. There's like no aftertaste, like at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really pick up on the guava quite a bit. I think the guava is the most prominent flavor for me out of this. Maybe mixed in with the blood orange, you can definitely get that. They're pulling from each other in the same sort of like the tanginess, that element of it is being pulled out. I actually don't taste any vanilla in this, so that could have not been on the label. That would have been fine.
Maybe
But
it makes the guava more guava-y.
maybe. The color is nice. The chunks, I'm sure, are gonna be tasty.
Oh, I thought those were bubbles.
Oh.
Yeah, there's little chunks in there.
Little chunks and everything. It's a little surprise in every
Well,
glass.
that speaks to me of it's probably so. There's different ways you can make a sour. You can. We have another sour that we have on tap right now, which is the
good.
pink lemonade sour from Beer Brewing in North Van, also in North Van, real close to House of Funk, actually,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But
Like
it's
right next
beer,
door almost.
Beer has an extra E on the end, so it's Beere, and it happens to be the last name of the brewmaster there.
Yeah,
right?
the whole family.
Yeah, I mean, that.
It's the beer family.
It'd be interesting if
The beer family, they
make beer.
The brothers.
Yeah.
I think there's 3 of them.
It's
They
like
make
naming,
beer together.
It's like
That's a
naming your
cue.
son Jeeves.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You're either going to be a butler or a driver if you're Jeeves. If your last name is Beer,
I think you're making
do some
beer.
beer.
That's what you're doing.
And they do it well.
Yeah, there's a burlesque dancer named Diva Mercedes. That's her actual real name. And I was like, if you're not a burlesque dancer, I'm not
That or
sure
a stripper,
pass.
right? Yeah.
But yeah, with sours, the reason there's chunks in here is probably because they might actually use some blood orange or guava, like putting that in the, hello.
Do you want to finish your thought about beer before
Yes.
Go.
Very quickly, I just want to say that, because typically sours, you're either using natural bacteria called Brettanomyces, which you're pulling out of the airs, and that's what gives you your sour. It actually adds like a vinegary taste sometimes if it's too strong, or you're inoculating it with something like lactobacillus or pediococcus, the unfortunately named. And this does say it has lactose, so some of the sour notes might be coming from that, but it also might be that they're at like that fruitiness isn't a natural souring note from like a runoff from the bacteria.
Yeah.
It's like they actually put the fruit in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what, like you were saying, do you think it feels really clean?
I think so, personally, yeah. Like the hoppy isn't overpowering. It doesn't feel bitter, but it's not too sweet. It's really lovely.
Yeah.
No,
I love it.
It's a some sours can be very fruit forward. This one I find to be actually pretty well balanced. It is very much a sour. It's interesting, like anything. It kind of the flavor will change as it's out of the can, and as that moves on. As the time moves on, and I'm finding already that the guava was so strong. Like that was the first thing I tasted, but now I'm tasting more of the blood orange. So it's interesting how that's already shifting.
This is all just.
Roz, what were you gonna say?
So the chat was very curious about this Kevin being not able to smell things.
Oh.
Speak to how that relates to farts, please.
I'll tell you this much: every breath is fresh air. The amount of times I'm behind monitor, like on set, and like all of a sudden everyone just disperses. No one says a word. I'm like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, it's like, because someone cropped us today. It was like someone just farted and like ran off.
It's like a superpower.
Yeah, and here I am, like, just very confused, but breathing it in, and like, no one says anything for a minute, and I was like, I'm just breathing in fart particles. Oh, but
which is
still,
shit.
It's
That's
still
what that
fresh.
is. Just
it's
shit.
still fresh to me. I just don't know. Don't tell me that.
You should have been a touring musician.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
That's basically what the vehicle turns into. It's just a fart box.
Do you worry extra like about how you smell?
Oh, good question.
No, but I ask all of you to be kind of honest with me if I do smell bad. But normally, actually, 95% of the time, I don't smell bad.
Yeah,
From what people have told me.
Yeah.
They could be lying to me, and I could be. Maybe that's why we're all.
Canadians are very polite.
Maybe.
No, we are spaced out because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for 8 episodes. It's not like, Kevin's going to be on eventually. We should space out.
Should get ahead of this.
For all I know.
Get ahead of this.
It was a long con,
Okay, well, we've really rambled in the opening for this.
All right.
But
Very
so
good
today,
beer, though.
we are talking all things about the internet. Or what was Alex? What did you say, Alex? The information superhighway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
There you go.
He challenged me to say the whole episode without calling it the internet and just saying
Good luck.
information superhighway every time, and I was like, no.
The
But yeah,
World Wide Web.
So exploring that and various aspects of it. I mean, it's pretty vast a topic. So
Yeah.
So we'll get into it. We could start with, say, social media.
All right.
Yeah.
Social media.
Pros and cons. I mean, I
I can certainly speak to some cons.
don't know how old you are.
Yes.
12?
I know, so I'm not allowed to guess.
You're one of those people that could be like 36 or 22, and I would
27.
27. Okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna say 20.
Right in the middle there.
But okay.
Yeah, I grew up in the age where it was like you had no technology, we had dial-up, and then we just kind of got forced right into it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And grew up with it a lot for most of the part. And now we're in that weird phase where you had the younger generation, which knows all about it. The older generation is just like figuring it out, and then us who are like, I don't know where we should be right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I have a love-hate relationship with social media.
You're 10 years younger.
Did you have it in high school? Because that is that is the time that I am so grateful that I did not have social media in high school.
It didn't exist for me, so.
No, all of the like bullying happened in real life. Like people had to actually really tell me
Put the effort in.
that they didn't like
In
me. And
IRL.
mean girl me, like they had to actually get together to gossip about me and then, sort of ghost me. Like that had to be like a real actual action as opposed to what happens now. And also, you know, I mean, we can't even, not even getting into the way that the internet allows parents to track their children's phones. Like, there's definitely, I would not be the same person if my parents had actually known where I was during my adolescence. How was it for you? Do you even get to have your smartphones in class now?
Having no children,
I
I'm
imagine.
not positive, but I think they do. I think
they're allowed to have them in class. I don't know if they'd be allowed to be on their phones.
Right,
but,
yeah,
like, I think
totally.
that they're, but not that, I mean, a lot of kids now use laptops or iPads and stuff, which messaging, you know, it's all there anyways. It's not,
I managed to get my hands on one of the first iPhone, like the first generation iPhones. And, never had an issue with it. But I'm glad I missed that phase where everyone records everything, because when you're in high school, you do a bunch of stupid stuff.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been
Like-
really bad for me.
And it's not like you're doing anything illegal. It's just you're just an idiot, and
Oh my
who you
God.
are 10 years from then, you're like, you look back, you're like, you cringe at night because of it.
Oh.
But I'm very thankful that some of those things did not get recorded, because
Yeah.
I was an idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you're
Wow.
quite young, so even for us, like, I mean, I had, we did like weird little movies and stuff, me and my buddies, but that was intentional because we had like a little Sony Handycam. But other
mean,
than
it's-
that, it was no evidence.
It's like it was like the Wild West. Like, that's really what it is, right? Is that we're now sort of developing this etiquette around it, and etiquette around like whether or not you have permission to tag people and this and that and the other thing. Whereas
Yeah.
like Facebook, there was, you know, Facebook evolved in so many little steps, little fixes, kind of like a game, you know. There was like a little tag sent here and there all the time, but at the beginning, you know, there was about 10,000 photos that would pop up of me after a show of me going like this.
yeah.
You know, and like, or whatever other terrible thing that I did the night before, and you had no control over any of that stuff. And I can just imagine kids in high school like just having a heyday with that.
I wouldn't be here. If I don't know what would have ended up happening, but all the stupid shit I did, there's no way I would be allowed back on the internet. With all of it was
There was
recorded.
a ton of creepy stuff that came with Facebook. Like I still think like Facebook, even today, it was like the first baby step into what social media could be.
Right.
Yeah.
But I remember when, because
Yeah.
I didn't join it till like I was grade 10.
Yeah.
And I remember
Jesus.
it was all the different things that evolved with it. Honesty Box. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but someone created a little like miniature app for it where you could anonymously send messages to people, and just the bullying. Also,
Yeah.
all the confessions of love that came out of that. But it was just such a weird like spectrum where people were like
Well-
got it, but like opened up that door to be insulted.
And this is an interesting thing. So, like, for me, you know, I'm quite a bit older, and so there was, like, I definitely predated all of it, and then watched it get developed and watched where it's gone. And, like, I remember ICQ and instant messaging,
Yeah.
and that was sort of
MySpace.
yeah, and that was, like, the beginning of this
It was.
sort of thing.
That's what
But-
I had in high school.
But everybody used their name back then. You didn't, like, think to do a...
I didn't.
Everybody, like, some people, like, a lot of people use their name or pop up next to a tag or something, but it was always like you knew who you were talking to. There was no,
Yeah.
you know, this is predating
Wait, did you,
still, like
on
actual
ICQ,
social.
were you Chris Livingston?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I was like one of the first. I was like, there are many Chris Livingstons out there, it turns out.
Yeah.
But I happened to be one of the first onto ICQ.
That makes sense.
But it was just interesting to see how anonymity.
I can't say that.
Yeah,
got it on the second
anonymity, but anyway, changed social media. Like how as that developed, how that part of it really is what I think.
And they tried to destroy that. Do you remember? Because
Yeah.
there was like a whole part where.
I think they should destroy it, but yes.
But you know, for people like a lot of my friends are sex workers, or they are you know, entertainer. Like now it's a bit more accepted because of RuPaul's Drag Race. But like most of my friends growing up were drag queens, you know, or trans, and like they didn't want people to know what their legal name was because
Yeah, that's fair.
you know, or vice versa, right? Like so it just feels like that. And I remember that was sort of like a big activism that we had to do. But that was, I mean, I feel like that we had to do to get people to be able to have their fake name. Like I campaigned against it. I actually bought a fake ID and sent it to Facebook with my Crystal Precious name on it because yeah, because I bought it. There was like a dude that did it for $50, and like we all had it done, and then we
You
just
send your
like,
ID to Facebook?
yeah, because what they would do is they would like dismantle your account and say, this is not a real name, you need to upload a real name. I remember this was a huge thing, and a ton of my friends were like, really? And that's the biggest thing
Where
that
did
I
that
think
end?
has,
Did they
It ended because of a group of drag queens from New York.
Oh, okay.
So they were like, listen, we don't want our students that we teach during the day, we don't want to have to deal with all the drama of their parents, suddenly becoming homophobic idiots.
Yeah, so this is a good point. Like, that is a version of that I think applies, very strongly applies to hiding your identity or something like that. I think the danger of the other side of that is like the bullying, like you were saying.
Yes.
That's where this becomes a problem.
Well, it's let itself. There's a lot of people, because of the anonymity, they will say things they wouldn't say otherwise, and that's something that's developed. Like just a lack of repercussions is something that allows people to say things that society was shunning prior to that. Like you cross a certain line, you're either going to get smacked or ostracized. And now you can say whatever the hell you want. There's zero repercussions. To a degree, there has been recently when you have things like the Me Too movement, we're seeing some major repercussions for behaviors because people are being outed. So, but then if they were anonymous, it wouldn't work. But anyway, sorry, Roz, you were going to say something.
Oh man, the chat wants to know what was your first and or most embarrassing original screen name or email or an early handle. Come on, what'd you go with as like an embarrassing?
Sadly, I was really boring. I don't think I had.
I had Darth Zippy was my ICQ handle.
Oh man.
And my email I still have. I'm not going to say it because I'm going to get a bunch of weird emails.
You still have the email?
I still have my first email.
I never went with. I honestly, I don't think I ever had a weird email. I don't know. My brother could probably remind me if I did, but
Mine was Mr. Fugal at hotmail.com.
Mr. what?
Mr. Fugal.
Fugal.
Fugal?
Yeah, I don't know. I do not know why.
That's great.
I just made it up. Yeah. And then like the most embarrassing thing I did looking back now, I got to say is, do you guys remember MSN?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's when your crush logs on and you're like, I want them to have attention on me. So you just sign in and out constantly so that like on their desktop, it just pops up
Wait,
all the.
I'm sorry. What is this?
Yeah, that was the thing. You game the system, like just get there. And then obviously looking back now, I was like, that was very clearly like a call for attention.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I cringe at the
And
thought
would that work?
Weird.
No.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it would, but like 1% of the time.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. I forgot about something. Okay, so this relates to the beers. A Filthy Lot has been supporting a lot of other YouTubers that we like and whose content maybe is in line with stuff that we want to make. And we got our first gift for being a Patreon supporter of the Normies. So we have a coaster that I'm using from the Normies. Check them out on YouTube. Thanks, Normies. We will also have a Patreon going live at some point. It's not quite ready yet, but you will be able to support us on Patreon. Anyway, sorry, continue.
I feel like my most
things.
embarrassing shit was mostly just because I kind of, there's kind of like two phases of CP post-internet. The first one was me being very excited about seeing many photos of myself on the internet as much as possible. And honestly, I kind of missed that. Then I, kind of did a bunch of self-work, blah, blah, blah. And unfortunately, my ego is no longer like the main motivator for me being on social media. Yes, well, I mean, fortunately for me and everyone I know, but unfortunately for me as like somebody who doesn't really give a shit anymore about marketing on social media.
Right.
To be perfectly honest with you, like, I never, for whatever reason, I never really felt, I think because I need connection with people and I didn't really ever feel like it was super genuine through the internet, and that didn't really excite me. I never really like went for it as far as being an influencer. I never used a bot, and I didn't see it as a strategy. I just kind of thought of it as more of like a window, and probably was distracted by just looking at pictures of myself. Like to be perfectly honest. And then it was just like creating all this content of fabulous pictures of myself. And that's one of the things that is so irritating to me now, because the insinuous, like I worked for a social media startup for a hot minute, and learning about all the sort of Las Vegas level hook cycles that they put in there and et cetera, but they were really targeted at, low-key narcissists that like young low-key narcissists who are glamour junkies who wanted to see all these beautiful pictures of themselves, who would then were like, oh, like actually, you know, I could maybe sell this product or maybe, you know, get this dopamine hit, and then would spend tens of thousands of dollars on this content, mostly a lot of women, lots of TNA.
Yeah.
And then the internet decided to switch it up. This is like, there's two main bait and switches that the internet did that piss me off. One is building their platform off the literal backsides of like tons of models who invested in the content, and then deciding that content was no longer allowed and disabling all of their accounts
Well, no,
that
that's
they
not the
invested
internet.
in.
That's like
That's social media.
right?
That's Instagram and Facebook. But
which is owned by
Sesta Fosta, I mean, even Snapchat, like the Sesta Fosta bill that Donald Trump signed basically says that any platform where there's anything that could be related to sex trafficking, the platform is responsible for it. So that's why there's been all this like crazy, like conservative shutdowns and like arbitrary, like I'm not allowed to promote burlesque shows on Facebook anymore because of that, because of that bill.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like literally it would make me so mad because it's never been a problem before. And this was the other bait and switch, is when Facebook first started and we were promoting raves, it was fantastic.
Oh, promotion
2000,
was a crazy easy thing back then.
2006, you would have a literal, you know, list of your friends.
You could just send it to everyone.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, absolutely not. So they built this whole system that you have to pay for it, and now I can't even pay for it. Like I would pay them $100 and they would be like, sorry, it says burlesque in it, which means that you're clearly like...
I find it so funny because it's like, you know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you know, these are companies that certainly don't want to take any responsibility, or as little responsibility as they can for the content that's posted on their on their platforms. And it is funny to hear that they come down on things like that.
Yeah.
When there's so much stuff that they should come down on. Like my issues around social media revolve mostly around the dangers it poses. Not even so much here in North America, but more abroad. Like they're very powerful tools in some countries, and in some countries, like government change and propaganda is all used through Facebook and things like that, to which they take no responsibility for that.
Right. But there's no bill against that. There's only bill against...
And so it's funny to me. Like these are things that, no, open up, people. Open up, you know?
Either have a censorship or don't. Like, that's the thing, right?
I think it should be no censorship. Like, I think that the emphasis should be on, or the impetus should be on the user. Like, people, I mean, unfortunately, it seems that there's a very sadly less educated or just perhaps more naive contingency of the general population than it's been made very clear
to you?
during the no, I thought to a degree, but during this year it's become very apparent.
Yeah.
And
You're right.
But the internet has allowed for major pros like the amount of interconnectivity and the fact that everyone does have devices on their phones now and can record things. Like Black Lives Matter never would have happened if we weren't able to access the information.
No, you're right about that. But when you say no, like not putting any sort of boundaries on it, like there's obviously the other side of that.
Right.
You know?
I'm just saying that the tool shouldn't be blamed for the deed.
No, you're right, but should it be policed, I guess is the question.
Sure, to a degree, like there's still a freedom of information and a freedom of speech thing, but repercussions are what are the difference.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to say something incredibly hateful, there should be repercussions. It shouldn't necessarily be on Facebook to do that.
I mean, it's funny because that brings us back to the anonymity.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with the idea that like this should be moderated content, maybe not to the extent that it is currently. Tumblr was a really good example. Tumblr was a home for a lot of sex-positive communities.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're like, we don't want this to be associated with our brand, and they just cut all of it, and their user base just dropped. And the reality of it is like, yeah, sure, you cut out all that sexual content, even if it's like actually like straight up just porn, or maybe it's like artistic news that people would like really work for to make artistic photos. They can just go to any other website to find that. Like the internet is such a wild west. You can find whatever you want.
Oh God, yeah.
Right, but like, your brand, your website just became that community platform for you to use to have said content. And for you to cut that out, like that does not look good on you. And like people can find it anywhere. You just lost a bunch of user base, your revenue, and you just kind of shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, and
right?
porn's great. So, you know.
I agree. And
It's been around for a real long time.
well, and
It's not going anywhere.
let me just plug for all the ladies right now, because there is an amazing female-oriented porn site that nobody knows about. It's called Bellesa, Bellesa.
I'm just gonna write that
Check
down.
that shit out.
Yeah.
Seriously, seriously.
Okay,
But
I have to ask, what makes it female-oriented?
I don't. Okay, so I mean, you could get technical and say that it's not
Don't.
necessary. Okay. I like it because when I dial it up and I see the categories and I'm scrolling, I don't feel like I'm going to see anything that's like overtly violent or like super obviously like graphically like what I consider to be degrading. I know that that's like a whole different situation, and that degradation is
subjective.
in its own category that can be voluntary and all that kind of stuff. Like, I know all that, but like for me, I think it's a safer place for me to go that just has, and that's one thing that social media does do, is that it can allow us to curate, or people to curate from the giant fucking massive ocean of everything that's out there, right? So like, I don't have time to go and look up every fabulous designer in New York City, but like I'm very excited about when something comes up in my feed that so-and-so managed to share with me, and I need that right now. So that's one thing that I do need for sure. But as far as it actually continuing to be as big of a thing as it did, like I think the nature of all economies, and in this one, the currency is viewership. Like I think that with the limited viewership, it will self-destruct. Like that's what's gonna happen if it continues to go in this direction.
Definitely.
I'm surprised with how, like, because Facebook just like blew up onto the scene, and then it's gone through.
It's useful.
It's insanely useful, and it was streamlined. Like prior to that, we had basically MySpace, and MySpace was you made your page, and that was essentially it. Like there was some messaging through it and whatnot, but it wasn't so versatile. And Facebook was insanely versatile, and you're getting a hold of all kinds of people, and you're all connected.
And
You
it
can
was
message them through it.
adaptive.
And yeah, it was great at first, especially when remember a time when there was no advertising.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my
It
God.
was amazing.
I can't
actually don't think I do remember that anymore. But
No, I can't scroll through. I used to be like addicted to like going on like websites like Facebook, and like it'd be. I remember back in school, I'd be like, I got to do one like painting, and all of a sudden like I need to check Facebook real quick. Scroll away, and it's like, all right, I'll do another sort of like 10 seconds of work. I got to check Facebook real quick.
Oh, damn.
It was real bad.
Do you guys have a blocker? Because I have a blocking system.
an ad blocker?
Yeah, I paid $25 Sorry, I completely interrupted you. That's kind of how I roll, though. Sorry
All
about
good.
that.
It's all good. All good.
I have a blocking system. I have a stay focused on my phone,
Yeah.
and it only allows me on between 2 different times or 10 minutes an app. So like I know at noon I have half an hour to do all the shit I need to do, and then I paid for one on my desktop, and I can like, it's called Freedom, I think, and I go in and I say I have to do something for 45 minutes because Facebook like has so many cookies and shit that you go in to type www in your search bar and Facebook pops up. Like you don't even have to, you barely just breathe on your computer and it's on.
Yeah.
Not on my
You know
computer.
what I mean?
Well, yeah, you can get a blocker and everything, but what was enough of a blocker for me was when you go on Facebook now, it's like 80% ads and sponsored stuff and stuff
You guys
that
don't
I am
ad
not at all
blockers?
interested in. I used to love
I'm
seeing
a-
my
I
friends
don't
stuff.
have an ad blocker.
I'm not a user of Facebook
Oh, okay.
or
Oh, really?
or Twitter
Used to be.
or anything. In fact, I only use Instagram. That's like, and I'm new to that.
Which is owned by Facebook.
I bet you
It,
guys
it
use
is. No, I can acknowledge that. I can see more use case for me personally in Instagram than I could in Facebook.
Right.
I am one of those people who fundamentally disagrees with the platform.
Really?
Yeah, I think there was a good ideology there. I think there was a really unique opportunity. I think it was great for sharing. I do see the benefits. I'm not, oblivious to that. I just think I think the bad far outweighs the good.
Yeah.
And I think because it was never acknowledged or dealt with, and because they refused to acknowledge or deal with it, like the impact they have on foreign governments, or even the impact they have here, I think that is a responsibility you have to take on.
100%.
Well, that's what I meant by the like Facebook being one of the first baby steps into social media. I think social
Yeah.
media could be such an amazing thing, but if used properly. not just algorithms where you just have walls scrolling forever, but rather like give the users the ability to kind of explore and see what's around. Do a geographic-based thing. I kind of developed an idea for school as a capstone project, but like allow someone to scroll across the world and to be like to see something of what's happening right here and see from the perspective of people who live there, posting there, like, hey, like look at this mirror I found. Hey, this is currently the political atmosphere that's happening right now, and here's my point of view, rather than like it always just being through a media or having it like kind of be biased through a platform that might actually be tweaking how you're seeing these things.
Right.
I think
that's
it would
totally
be-
fair.
I'm surprised there hasn't been something similar, like the Facebook killer. Like there hasn't been an app yet.
Because Facebook buys it if
It must
it's big
be
enough.
That's exactly what happens.
Yeah, it's big enough. Facebook
And
buys
actually,
it.
that's what the killers want at the end of the day, right? The
Yeah.
capitalism is the turd in the punch bowl here. Like, that's what's trying to keep the eyeballs on for as long as possible. That's why they're
the proper
rewarding
reaction, Roz.
inflammatory language and like they're rewarding all of these debates.
But that's the thing. I think that if you were a long game person, and you had I mean, I can't develop an app or something like I don't have that skill set. But if you could create a social media platform that was as good, possibly better than Facebook, if long game, instead of getting bought by Facebook, is to replace it, is to wait till like steal the user base, and then wait till you can get a monetization process that's going to exceed what they already.
I mean,
even
I would
have.
argue that there's probably 1,000 people out there trying to do that right now.
100%.
You know what? Users who are currently, anyone who's watching who is a programmer, do something different. Try something new.
Anything at all. Anything at all.
Don't copy someone else. Just try something new. God,
That is oddly a harder thing to find than you would think.
I'll create one.
But
I'll
YouTube
do
is
something.
dope.
I'll give you a basic
There
idea.
you
We'll
go.
see how it
Yes.
goes.
So
YouTube is dope.
I wanted to talk about another aspect of this, is just between YouTube, Spotify, Twitch, and just streaming platforms like Netflix or
With
Disney,
entertainment,
whatever.
like the effect
yeah,
on entertainment?
Exactly, the effect that all of that stuff has had on entertainment in general,
Yeah.
and it's been huge. I mean, this is what we are. We're
Crazy huge.
Yes,
Um,
I think one of the coolest aspects of it. I don't know if you guys can hear this at home, if the mic's picking it up,
It's
but it
starting
just
to rain
started
real
raining
heavy here.
really crazy here, and it's supposed to be lightning, so you might hear like a crack of doom.
Crack-a-doom.
Crack-a-doom. But something that I think is one of the coolest aspects, and which has served just our purposes, is that self-starters have taken a lot of the power away from the gatekeepers.
Wow.
Yeah, that's loud.
It's getting real loud.
Sorry, O'Brien.
I feel like I have to talk louder all of a sudden.
I know. Well, I
don't
mean,
know if that's actually
we might
factual.
get louder because honestly, we have to be louder to hear each other right now.
Yeah, we really do.
All I need is a beer.
But yeah,
It'll bring me up there.
the typical gatekeepers of entertainment have a little less power right now.
Helicopter in there now?
Yeah, there's a helicopter now. We're getting taken off the air. It's probably Zuckerberg.
Found us. They found us. I gotta get out of here.
Probably actually like a Godzilla attack is happening out there. Just like the ocean is pouring out of the sky. There's helicopters. We're just in here talking about turds and punch bowls.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly been great for social justice. Like, this is the thing too, right? Is that I feel like there are these early adapters who manage to figure it out and make $1 bazillion off of whatever product they sort of like pivoted into to sell to their audience. And a lot of those people would never have had a shot. Like, I'm thinking of, you know, some of these, like the beauty industry has been absolutely completely turned inside out.
Yeah.
The beauty industry used to be a total landmine of self-esteem, murdering bullshit with like 1 million beautiful ladies on the cover of 17 magazine. And now it's like legitimately like teenage boys. I'm here for it. Like, I'm completely here for it.
More power
and
to all of
people
you.
who are billionaires by the time they're 30. You know what I mean? But
To be clear, she's here for the inclusivity.
yes.
Not for the teenage boys.
No.
Oh yeah.
Clarify that.
Let's take a couple
Was
steps
that
back there.
unclear?
I mean, it could have been interpreted that way.
So sorry.
You took that sentence as an excerpt.
Maybe someone else should talk for a second.
I will say that the thing I noticed, you know, I mean, again, you know, when I came into the film industry and my time and my interaction with it, when the first shows I worked on, we still used film stock. And, you know, and went through the digital era and the insertion of the internet and what that did. The one thing I will say is, it broke apart an old system that needed to be broken up.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it opened the door for anybody to really be able to make something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Accessibility has been a
Yeah.
huge thing for entertainment. And I mean, you mentioned earlier self-promotion, like shows,
Yeah.
and I mean, I was unaware till you mentioned it. The whole like not being able to do a burlesque thing right now. That's fucked
Nope,
up. That's not cool.
It's really fucked up. I mean, there's a lot of shit that you can't, like even anything that's got, because they've got little weird web things that can tell if there's a butt on your poster, like honestly.
I mean, like just like you do that little
Does
thing
it-
where you're like,
Does it make it?
your finger in your heart.
Oh, have you guys seen the Paul Rudd thing?
I do know what you're talking about.
Paul Rudd takes pictures and he bends his finger over people, like he'll take a picture of you, make it look like you're standing under someone's
Green
butt.
lights.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
I mean, to be honest, like I almost feel like it's the chicken or the egg at this point. Like, I think for a long time it was a useful tool to get new audiences, and now it almost feels like something that you have to do in order to be seen as a successful artist. Like I have been a promoter for a bazillion years, so I remember. Well, I haven't really done events recently. I have not been doing events. Don't die of shock, but like.
In
You know, I
2020,
remember.
the year of the
I
event.
remember word of mouth being a thing. I remember
Flyers.
flyers and posters being a thing. I remember text messages being a thing, or phone calls. You know, but the part of the issue that I had recently too is that if you are promoting a show in a different market where you don't know people or you don't have access to, you know, somebody to poster for you in that city. Like I was promoting a show in New Westminster and I was really reliant on Facebook it made me have to go and do stuff there and on my feet in the neighborhood, you know?
Totally.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing because I met a bunch of cool people who own businesses there.
Yeah.
But it
has its
did take forever. Sorry?
Well,
Sorry, no, I was just saying, it certainly has its uses. It's one of those things where you have these platforms, and a lot of them I don't agree with, but at the same time, like they've been pretty entertaining, and like especially during quarantine, when everyone's locked down, like Vinyl is a good example. I know that's been gone since, but it was one of those things where everyone had access to it.
Yeah.
And just the amount of creative content and like first weird crap that came out of it as well, but like a lot of creative stuff that came out there, and like I loved every minute of it because people were just finding ways to entertain themselves. I remember seeing one. There was a girl who just decided to hang out with her dog at her windows. Like, so, okay, like you're barking in that car. Why are we doing this? And then she would also bark with it. It's just like perfect. I love it. Like, you know what? More like yes, enjoy yourself.
People getting weird.
Try to understand your dog. But like that was
Glorious
the kind of
weirdos.
content that was coming out and it was entertaining because I'd never seen that before. And while how mundane it is,
Well, you were
actually
also
great.
you hit a level of boredom. Like an internet thing that was really cool, like Zoom blew up. I mean, it's not like we didn't have Skype before, but anyway, Zoom blew up.
Yeah.
And
Later,
always
Skype.
been.
and during like actual lockdown isolation, we were doing a company happy hour online where we could check in at a certain time of day. And you were in a house completely alone for a very long time, to the point where you had turned a fake skeleton into a
Vincent Van Bones.
yes.
Yeah.
And I made sure personally to jump into happy hour to hang out with you all the time because it seemed like you needed some friendship.
You made yourself a friend?
But this brings up a really interesting point. Because ultimately, I think what the internet did in the openness and the accessibility it gave was it changed content. It changed how we think about content. It changed about what we consider content, period.
Yeah.
And, it became, like YouTube is a great example of that, where it's personality driven. It became about the people, and they could go out and buy a cheeseburger and eat the cheeseburger and talk to a camera, and it was interesting because you got to know this person, and that we learned was actually far more interesting than we thought.
And it also like slaughtered like the preconceived theoretical notions about what's gonna sell, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like, oh, I mean, just random example, like totally like picked out of the ether, like fat girls in fabulous television shows or as musical acts are not gonna sell or not gonna get views, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, actually though, Lizzo is a thing. Like, do you know?
And that actually speaks to that sort of, so in the old system, which was far more controlled by a smaller group of people.
The gatekeepers.
They were deciding. They were saying this is what they had decided. This is what people wanted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll
And they
like
were gonna feed
what
that.
we tell you
There's
is
no
cool.
evidence
Yeah.
to the
No,
contrary.
and in fact, what we've learned is it wasn't true at all.
There's an audience for practically everything.
There's an audience for everything, and beyond that, people actually
girl barking with her
appreciate
dog.
reality. They appreciate real people.
It
Yes.
also like makes me so happy because I know that as able-bodied people or an able-bodied person, so I shouldn't speak for others, that, you know, I get to get out of the house, like even though pandemic is limiting, like I do get to see and be here and like enjoy a bunch of stuff, but there are people who are confined to hospital rooms and there are people, you know, especially even senior citizen people who don't have mobility and like it's, you know, like the technology has just completely and utterly improved their life. I mean, I can't speak for them, but I'm assuming that that has been helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely hope it's been entertaining.
I mean,
at least to kind of help them through it.
Incredibly painful to teach them how to use it, but yes.
Oh my God, my
Really
mom just
helpful.
got Zoom and she is still,
I'm sorry.
she's still taking, hi Mom, sorry about those. I'm sure she's gonna watch it. Mom, you don't have to take the computer and then like actually move it down. Like you can just tilt the screen back and forth.
Oh, my mom will remember this. I had to try to teach my grandfather how to use a modern computer once a long time ago.
Modern computer.
Oh, I say modern. This is actually going back a ways, but it was like still like, I say modern because literally the computer in his basement was still floppy disk driven. Like you had to change out the disks for the, like it was insane. And I remember like this was just a computer that worked on the internet. Like when I say modern, I don't mean like fancy. I mean, it just
The
was
basics,
like,
yeah.
it was like, you know, and
Commodore
that was-
64.
That was a long day. It was a
Yeah.
really long day that
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain was completely
Well, it was back
bore
when,
no fruit.
back when the internet
That's
was
a
a
big
dial
business.
tone and
Somebody
it sounded like a
should provide
demonic
that
voice
service.
talking to you.
I missed that sound.
So,
missed that sound.
so what you were just talking about, I think that one of the most interesting byproducts of social media
My grandma's
and
watching. She's
entertainment
all about it.
and everything is that it has redefined fame.
Yep.
Like what influencers were never a thing. Like the only people who were considered influencers were either politicians or celebrities. Like you had to have had success in either music or film or something, like models and everything. Those were the only people who would be used as someone that's going to sell a product per se.
Right.
And now you have someone who just happens to have enough of a number of followers and suddenly you're an influencer. Like,
It's true though.
And it's not
It
even
is.
necessarily, and right now, the number of followers isn't even necessarily representative of their reach.
It's true.
And that's
Oh,
part
God,
of the
yeah.
reason why I feel like it's unfortunate. I mean, you know, lots of my friends in the burlesque world, for example, got in early and got a specific bot that worked really well.
Yeah.
And they were able to get up to, you know, between 15 and 20,000 followers and have been sort of slowly declining ever since or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I missed the memo, but I know that my 3,000 people are like all real solid contacts, and they actually really do more. That does more shit for me, honestly, sometimes than what I'm hearing from some of these people who have, you know, these big
higher
followings.
numbers, but they don't
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
do
But they don't
Inflated
actually
numbers.
have. But that's not what people are looking at when
No.
they are like contracting product deals with influencers.
No, they're looking at your
right.
You can buy 10,000 followers for $5.
Oh yeah, for $500.
God.
No,
I've-
no, $5. Like I was just reading.
$5
For $5, you can buy like 10,000. They're obviously very fake, but you
Yes.
can get 10,000 for $5.
I've considered it. A lot of my friends have done it. Most of my friends have done it.
But
I feel like that's going to get cracked down on.
Well, but even if it doesn't get cracked down on, the problem is that people who've done it, the false inflation of your
Dilutes.
numbers actually decays,
Yeah.
and it will hurt you long term.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought it would, you know, well, if they see that I have 10,000 followers, then maybe I'll get 20,000, and then when that drops, I'll have real 10,000 followers.
The early CP would have been sad about not getting in on it, but like
Yeah.
current, like lots of fork and therapy CP is like
Yeah.
very grateful that I actually do get to reach my friends when I post it.
Yeah.
I would have felt real dirty.
Yeah.
You pay $5, you get the thing. You're like, yeah, bring it. Oh,
It's like a one-night stand.
horrified of yourself.
I paid $5 for lots of dirty things.
Ross, you had your hand up. You're going to say something?
Yeah, chat's asking about your favorite influencers or your favorite just internet personalities, people that you follow online, you like the stuff they
I
post
think
or
everybody's gonna know
share.
the answer for me, but yeah.
I don't know. What is it?
Oh, you go first.
Go, Kev.
Go ahead.
Peter McKinnon.
Oh.
Amazing personality.
Beat you to it.
What?
That's my
Really? Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
Peter. Yeah.
Hey, no high fives, no touching. We have sanitizer around.
Oh, God.
Spirit.
Here.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna keep my arm over here real quick, but yeah, no, Peter McKinnon. What an entertaining fellow, and just also such good tips.
And he's Canadian.
And he's Canadian. I do
Canadian,
love
Really?
Yeah, like, he's just so down to earth.
it. Yeah.
McKinnon, if you're watching, I love everything about you, and please come
play with us.
Hang out with us.
Oh, that'd be great.
He's actually my favorite, but also the same thing. I admire how quickly he grew, but the integrity he seems to really bring to all of that. So it didn't feel like somebody who rose fast and was just like, I'm the best thing in the world.
But
he really, truly seems to just enjoy what he does. And that to me is something that I find really attractive when I watch something.
Cool.
I
Genuine.
don't know
Yeah.
that I have a favorite influencer. I would say I have a favorite set of like internet personalities, and it's like Try Guys.
Oh yeah.
Try Guys are
Really?
great. I've been watching the Try Guys since they were with who were they with?
He used to be with shoot.
We don't remember him.
BuzzFeed.
BuzzFeed.
Oh,
It was
BuzzFeed.
BuzzFeed. So they left BuzzFeed. They created their own channel, and I subscribed immediately. And they just because as soon as they left BuzzFeed and created their own thing, they just like their
They're
subscribership.
funny. They are funny.
They're great.
Yeah.
They're just a really fun group of guys. I watch a lot of their stuff.
I'm a
Fair
big
enough.
fan. I have like two. I mean, I have somebody that I started watching, and then they moved to the internet format, and then I continued. And it's the only reason I've ever attended a fan con, which was DragCon in 2017. So I'm obsessed with drag queens, and my favorite content is fashion review, or fashion photo review, where they rip apart all the drag queens' outfits. It's like, as a costume worker, like, this is like my favorite thing ever. Been watching it for years and
who
years
does
and
it?
years. Raja Gemini.
Oh, it's Raja?
Oh God.
Sorry, I like
I've
drag
gotten
queens
to
too.
I've gotten to meet them. I've gotten to meet them, and it's like my only like fan moment.
Seriously?
Like, literally,
Nice.
I literally died a million deaths.
Oh my god.
And then my favorite, probably non sort of like pre-famous influencer who just became famous through the internet is this curved plus size model named Ruby Rocks, who I'm hoping to bring in here at some point to do something. So she has a million followers on Facebook, and she's a good friend of mine. Basically what happened was she became aware of a website on Facebook that was called Project Harpoon, where they found hot girls that were fat on the internet and then photoshopped them to become skinny and acceptable.
Oh.
And so she took that, and there's a bunch of photos of
That's
her
not cool.
out on the group. Like, she was like the cover girl for their group of like,
Yeah.
this girl would be so hot if she looked like this. So she took this opportunity and ran with it, and just like got a bunch of talk show appearances, and just like, kind of brought to the attention that this was such bullshit. And
Okay,
she's gorgeous and fabulous.
I got confused for a second.
No, she wasn't like, I'm excited. She was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay.
Oh
thank
yeah,
God.
no, she was like,
For anyone who's going to Photoshop anything like that, fuck off. Do that.
no.
Come on.
Not helping anything.
And now she's this huge influencer, and like, it's really funny because one time in a newspaper article, so it was like, Crystal Precious is huge, but it like sounded like me as a person. I was huge, and I was like, that was weird wording. But she's huge as an influencer, and also a fabulous, gorgeous plus size model who's amazing. So she's my favorite. Look her up, Ruby Rocks. Oh, she's so hot.
Is it ROX or
R-O Ruby, just like the jewel, and then
Yes.
R-O-X-X.
XX.
Yeah,
Right.
she's a redhead. She's stunning.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nice. Yeah.
I almost want to ask, what's the next question?
Yeah. We got out there, guys. Something I would talk about just is a little bit about old world, new world kind of differences. So, because for me, that was, I think, the experience of the internet, the moments that stood out the most for me. I was a very early adopter of digital content. So, web series and stuff like that, which technically Netflix or Amazon, all of that is considered digital content. So when I used to go to meetings about projects and things like that, certainly back in the early days of this, everybody was, you meet with a studio and they're like, I don't understand. You want to do what? And this is going to go where? On the internet. And people are going to watch this. Okay. And so they were terrified of this because they didn't understand it.
Yeah. There's still a lot of that.
Well, and the interesting thing now is seeing how they fell behind because they were too afraid of. Yeah, it happens to all of us.
Yeah, they stick to the bottoms and then they fall. It's fine.
But is they were afraid. They were afraid to change. They didn't want to put money into it because they didn't know how to monetize it properly.
We have to prove a model before you get investment. It's
Right, but now the companies that weren't afraid have stepped in. They've dominated the market, and now you're watching TV networks and stuff try to create their own platforms.
Oh,
They're trying to catch up, but they can't. And so I wonder if there are other areas like that. For me, was very obvious because that's my area.
Yeah.
But are there other areas where that same thing happened, where there was an old guard in fashion that fell apart, or an old guard in something? You know, did we notice that elsewhere with internet?
I mean, there's a brand new thing, which is Twitch. Like, I mean, I grew up playing video games being told that it was a waste of time, and it sucks because I'm actually pretty fucking good at video games, and if I would have like known, but at the time it didn't exist. Like the only thing as a career for my age was like, if I'm gonna do video games, I either need to know how to program them, or I could get a job as a game tester, and that sounded awful.
It really did.
But really, I could have gotten so good at games that I could be an esports competitor. I'd be an
Oh,
athlete.
you're way too old now.
No, you don't have to be.
Hey,
no, you could.
Don't do that.
You know what? That's
Give me whatever he wants.
that brings a really interesting point up. Is that considering esports, if you consider them athletes, which is I don't think you should. There should be a different word. But it's the most accessible thing. It's not an ageist. It doesn't matter about
Actually, that's
like
not
how.
true.
As far as fan
like,
following,
but like,
stuff.
no, but I mean, like, legitimately, that's like, so the actual esports leagues and whatnot, they do put an age limit to it. They look at it, yeah, well, not
Really?
like to what a solid esport player is going to be capable of. They look for youth versus an older person because of their ability to react faster. So there's a guy, oh man, I think it was.
I think there should just be.
Because of your,
I mean,
your story about your grandpa in the computer.
Hold on.
But it's true though. So there was
the proof is in the pudding there.
There's a test that they do. It's a wall of lights, right? Button lights. And you stand this close to the wall, and the lights start going. You're supposed to look straight, and then you have to tap every light as it goes off and stuff like
Sure.
that. So when they do this,
reflex.
there's studies that show that the reflex rate of youth is much faster than those of people even 20 or above. So they look at people and they go, oh, you're 26, you're not going to be as fast as this 14-year-old who's going to be way faster in reaction time.
Sure,
And
but
now
there's
that it's
been
beginning-
plenty of games that don't require the reaction speed of that.
Are you telling
I'm
me
just saying, you look at esports leagues, they are young, they are not,
Sure.
You know.
But then
Are
you've
you
got
telling me
guys
there's
like
not a
Dead
channel
Mouse.
for like chess?
Sure.
there must
Chess,
be.
yeah. not
I saw the
chess.
wizard once.
But is that an esports?
That's my contribution.
Hey, once you surpass the esports, you move on to chess or some other board game, right? But like, there's always something for it, right? Like,
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you can go
Dad,
play
this
chess.
is for all the times you told me games would amount to nothing. I could have been a game designer. I could have done something with that. But no,
Oh, trust me, being
you
a
got
game
South
designer
Korea,
is
which
not all
is way
it's
ahead of
cracked
the
up
game,
to
which
be.
they already had a TV channel specifically for StarCraft.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
They're way ahead of the game there, and then it bounded across the West.
just the wrong time.
But like esports leagues and
Yeah.
stuff, they look for like 20 under.
Well, I think
their-
they should, maybe they should have, much like in the UFC, has weight classes, have age classes. Why not?
That could be a thing.
That would be dope. The over 40 league or
I
something.
want to see a 60-year-old league. Yeah.
Right?
See if we
Be
can
great.
for a team here and
It's
see where we
super
go.
entertaining.
Maybe that would help
Let's see
us
if we can.
teach our
Try Guys
senior
did it.
citizen,
Yeah, create an esports team here.
family
We should.
to use
It could be our first sports
technology
team.
more if it was gamified.
Yeah. I think
Actually, that's a
gamifying
really
things
good
is-
idea for an app, like a gamified technology teacher.
Ooh, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Coming up with the
I feel like
That
ideas.
is a really good idea.
Right?
If you could teach older generations how to use technology by making it a game,
So
that's actually a really good
Feel a
idea.
lot of it.
Like a really good idea.
I kind of so my grandmother, she actually is she's very active online. You know, and she's always commenting on all my stuff, and certainly has popped up. And I love you, Grandma. I'm sure you're watching this.
Hi, Chris's grandma.
Might have, but I do. She's great. I would love to see her get into an esports league. That
Right?
would be amazing.
I think a bunch of.
She'd be the most lovely esports player ever.
I
She would
briefly
just be
mentioned
so
it.
polite.
Called the Filthy Mothers.
I briefly mentioned it in
my
the video game episode, but I do play DC Universe Online, and I know that she also plays Destiny with like a really nice old lady. Like she sounds like an old Southern lady. She's American for sure. I don't know her real name because she's just gotten, that's another thing. Anonymity in gamers. Everyone has a gamer handle. No one uses their real name in gaming. Why? There's no
feel-
problem
but
there.
Is
And they
it
talk
really
the
working
most
for
shit.
people's social skills though? Because I wanted to say, Greg.
No.
Oh, sorry.
No.
No.
Oh, I was just
No,
gonna
no,
say, I was just gonna
Go
talk about
anywhere.
how. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this about me, but I do rely a little bit on my intonation and cadence in order to make my point because I'm a
Sure.
sarcastic bitch. And unfortunately, that does not translate into instant messaging.
No.
No, text is the worst for that.
It is terrible for me.
That has
People
gotten
are
me in
always
trouble.
thinking that I'm being a giant bitch.
Oh, I piss people off
And
all
it
the
is-
time. I don't
right.
mean to. And I have
And-
to add like emoticons.
Well,
to that.
emoticon is one technique, but if somebody else has already decided that you are mad at them or
Yeah.
they are mad at you for some reason,
Yes, then they
it
put their
doesn't
own-
matter how many emoticons you use, you are in the doghouse forever.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off because people are like literally mad at you if you call them.
I feel like you should get better friends.
Actually, I've been working on that a little bit recently.
You know who you are.
No, I've been working on that, so thank you.
No, but that's the thing is that
Wait, was that sarcasm?
There-
I don't. it
there's
goes
been-
over-
There's been many situations where someone has come to me with like an email or a text and been like, "Can you believe this person said that?" And I'm like, "Well, how do you think they said that?" And then and I'm like, "Okay, what if it sounded like this?"
Right.
And if you put the emphasis on the right syllable, then it changes the meaning entirely.
Yeah, and you got to have that in your brain. Like that's the thing is you have to choose the best possible, scenario all the time.
That is literally how I got into using emojis. Was literally I should put a smiley face so they know
Yeah,
I'm being. I'm
yeah.
not.
I'm not being a dick.
I am happy.
Smiley, laughy.
I feel like you guys should learn how to write properly.
Yeah, that might also be a reality, but
I learned to
You
write
can
before
send all
this was
sorts
a
of
thing.
messages without having to be
like
sarcastic.
is there like expressionary verb? Like I'm terrified honestly of like the idea of not being able to use my voice. Like I'm already
Oh.
really uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's scary.
Oh no.
Do you know what I mean? Like I'm already really uncomfortable whenever like I'm in like going to Mexico and not being able to. At least then I can be like blah 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 blah. Like
Yeah.
people can still get the gist, which
no,
is that
then
I'm
it's all
bitchy,
in
but I
time.
like you.
I would say I'm a very in-person person.
Yes,
I'm
totally.
an in-person. And for anyone who knows me, I am terrible with my phone. Okay, like I don't even know where it is right now.
To your credit,
I have no idea.
has gotten better.
Chris dropped his phone down 3 stories last week.
Yeah. Terrible with my phone. I am terrible with my phone. So
But that's
I am-
clumsiness, not not responding and whatnot. Like you're.
Yeah, no, but I just
Yeah.
mean
But
like
you also don't.
it's
leave it
really-
everywhere
I just like a
and-
conversation. I'm
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah,
I
I like
like a
that too, yeah.
conversation. I enjoy conversation.
But
Yeah.
like, quick
Online
note.
dating, for example, I'm so glad that I managed to skip that somehow because that terrifies me. Like,
I think
Online
somebody.
dating?
yeah.
I will say, Ash and I met through online dating.
You did?
Yes.
So you must be good at it.
She found me.
There you go.
Well,
Yeah,
she
there
is
you go.
obviously good at it. 'cause
She
she's good
chooses
at
well.
everything.
But I was about ready to quit at the time.
Oh, really?
fair.
Yeah, I didn't think about talking about online dating. I mean, this fits.
gonna
like,
say-
like I had to be pushed into online dating. I kind of like, I was just making
Trying to push
attempts
some
when I
people
was,
into it,
because I
yeah.
ended up, I was like a serial monogamist, and I made it. I was 28. I ended up single for the first time in like 4 years. No, since I was 16 when I was 28. Yeah, and I didn't know what to do.
Right.
And I was just like within my weird social circles and like trying to see like who's interested, and I was helpless. And then I got pushed into online dating and had a lot of bad experiences. One really horrible.
Oh no! Tell us.
I'm not gonna. I can't tell.
sentences.
I won't say who she is. It ended with her kissing another guy at a nightclub.
On your date?
And then I left, and she told me, "How dare you fucking leave? Blah blah blah. Get back here." And I was like, "What?" And then
You text?
And then she, I was hammered at this point, and I'd left my car at her place downtown. I went over to my buddy's place. I was crying and shit. I was upset. I don't know what the hell was going on. And by the time I left, she started texting me and saying that she was in a hot tub, or not a hot tub. She was in a bathtub, and she had opened her veins. She was trying to tell me that she could.
I don't know who this is.
No, and I knew that this was true, or that I knew that it wasn't true because I could hear the traffic going by her on the street as she was walking down the street. This wasn't a voice.
Yeah,
this was a crazy person. But online dating, I was about to quit because of things like that, and then Ash found me. So thank you.
I will say online dating.
Ash.
I have never used online dating, but because like you, like I sort of skipped that stage, but I know that it has come a long way and is now, from what I understand, pretty much how people date.
Yeah, and the stigma is gone. Like there used to be this weird stigma that like you try everything else first and then you start. But now it's like, don't waste time, just get on there.
Well, we were pre-Tinder. We met on Plenty of Fish, and then Tinder came out after, and Tinder seemed like the least. Like it was very much just a meat market. It was like window shopping.
Still a meat market.
Like that.
There's a
disturbing
place
to
for
me.
a meat market. I mean, you
Sure.
know, everything has its moments.
I was just like, I'm the person who actually read people's profiles and then sent them messages that were, something about, oh, it's interesting that you're interested in this, and it's like, it was usually clever and funny.
You're
but whatever.
doing it wrong.
You have a question there? No, I did it well.
Quick question from the chat.
Yeah.
We only have a few minutes left, but trolls. What do we do?
Oh, fuck.
Trolls?
Ignore,
Need a
take the
troll
high
hunter.
road.
I always say if you don't have a troll, if you don't have a hater, if people are not talking shit about you, you do not matter. You need to have a fucking troll. Somebody was telling me this the other day. They're like, I'm scared about what people think. And I'm like, no, that's great. That's great. Because then what happens too is that you evoke like sympathy from other people.
Here's the other side of this.
Or empathy.
I don't disagree. I actually have no issue with trolls. Say whatever you want about me. You are definitely not going to hurt my feelings. So it's I think that the thing of it though is the other side of that is that cyberbullying level.
Yeah.
Like
When
there
you're
are
young
people
and
who
you
are
have-
affected
yeah,
by this
totally.
and it can be really dangerous and detrimental to their development and who
Yeah.
these people become.
We are pretty much out of time, but I did want to talk about the psychology of the internet and what the effect that it's going to have on society. Like we are the
Going
guinea
into
pigs.
2 hours now.
I know,
Just-
but we're the guinea
We've got
pigs.
2 minutes left. Just this.
Maybe we'll
topic.
get back to this at some point, but it is a weird thing. Like we're all, one millennial here. Otherwise, we're all zennials. So we are the last.
Just learned this.
We're the last analog generation, and then the first digital generation.
Sure.
Like
That
in
makes sense.
one. So we're the transitional generation, and
Yeah.
the zennial window is very, very small.
I had to convince my father to get internet. Yeah, I remember that, Dad. I remember.
I would just say, because I don't know, I feel the internet has caused a lot of like loneliness issues because
It is.
while it has connected a lot of people in a weird, backwards way,
Removed way.
it is disconnected because we're like, well, as long as I have them as a friend,
Yeah,
that's enough. It's a numbers game at that point.
Exactly. You're not
Yeah.
putting the effort in anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not about FaceTime, and it's not about actual connection. It's about comments and likes and
Yeah.
then when it comes to what you were mentioning earlier, like there's a bit in the Joe Rogan special where he talks about a girl on Instagram who has like 60,000 or 60 million followers or something, and all she does is take pictures of her ass with like duck lips. And the psychology of that, because you mentioned dopamine hits, and
right.
that likes and all that stuff actually gives you happiness and fulfillment, and that's the thing you're living for, and that's what you crave. And what kind of effect is this kind of a thing going to have on us in long term?
I have lots of things to say
Bad
about
one.
that and the effect of on like especially small like teenage people, like
Yeah.
teenage women. But I
Yeah.
feel like I should probably refrain from.
I think
from
the world was
launching.
hard enough as it was.
It was.
Okay, like, I remember being a kid before internet. It was not
Before
easy.
you had to market yourself.
Well, but it was not easy to be popular then. It was like there was already a popularity game amongst the 60 people that I knew, let alone these 600,000 people that are now judging me because I'm trying to be, I think it's overwhelming and it's dangerous and I think it's too much.
I mean,
certainly for youth, I think it's something that
I guess
as an
so.
adult that might be different. I don't know.
I don't know. I think that there's another thing to that, though, with like technology where our idea of youth is our experiences.
But no, let me put it this way. I was bullied as a kid growing up.
Sure.
That's just something I lived with. I was bullied by like 5, 6 people, and that was hard. That was not an easy thing to grow up with. I can't imagine being bullied
Yeah.
by thousands of people or 600,000
Yeah,
people.
that's fair.
Like all of a sudden, like that would be, it would be crushing. Like it would destroy me.
And people are misplacing blame too. Like,
Yeah.
I think that it's really interesting because it's almost like there's this sort of thing where people will sort of target people who are more likely to respond. than they are to target the
Because
people
they
who are
want
actually
that.
responsible. Yeah. I mean, I think that you hit it on the head, like when we were talking about responsibility. I mean, for me now, especially with what's going on, when I'm using social media, I'm like, I want to try as much as possible to put at the forefront, like be responsible about what I share.
I will
you
say
know?
this, as I know we're coming to the end of this, but I will say that I am, as somebody who very much sees a lot of the negatives of social media and the dangers of social media, I have noticed that shift, certainly in the last few years, of people actively trying to be positive, promote positivity, to support each other versus push down
And
on each other.
underrepresented people.
Wait, you're not
I
even
have
on
noticed
Facebook.
that.
How are you noticing
So-
this change?
I still pay attention.
Full of shit.
All right, hold on.
I don't know where my phone
What are you, like,
is,
reading
but
someone
I
else's
totally
feed?
pay
I
attention.
know people.
No, we've had this conversation before,
I pay
and
attention.
I've told you because I think a danger of social media or Facebook in general is people who disagree and then either block or remove that voice from their life. I've made a point of not doing that and not creating an echo chamber because you're not going to be able to have any effective growth if you don't have anything challenge you. If you are just stuck in a belief structure and reinforcing that belief structure, which also leads into misinformation and conspiracy theories which have gone rampant, then you need to have different voices to be able to find a better understanding of growth, of how to evolve in this world and how to do your research and learn, discover actual facts about things and not just like read an article and take it as fact, especially in amongst a Facebook community.
Ultimately, like you said, we were that first generation. It is something in development. It was a thing. It's an experiment, a massive experiment.
And we're the guinea pigs.
We're in
we were the
beta-
guinea pigs, and I
beta
do think it will settle,
eternity.
and I do think there will be another level to it at some point.
As an artist who kind of grew up with that technology and like having it like invaded into your life, I would say this is not directly to you guys. We seem to be doing this right now, but to anyone out there who is creating content or wants to create content, don't be scared. Accept who you are and have the integrity to be yourself, and don't worry about the people out there who are going to give you the bad comments, throw shit your way. A lot of the time, 90% of the time, is they're jealous because they can't do the same thing. So play to your strengths, be smart, and be responsible what you're putting out, and be weird.
Yeah.
Just create that content.
Yes.
And go forward with it.
And in
Don't
real
let it
life,
limit you.
and in real life, find your community. Find your
Yes.
have your found family of support, people who will actually back you up, that you can go to if that false reality becomes too much.
You're good at that.
and is influencing you in a negative way. Find your support group.
Have it be one piece of the pie, not the whole pie.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we got to close this down. We're definitely over time. So thank you everyone for joining us. I do want to say tomorrow coming up, we have the 4th episode or day 4 of Unboxing TNA, which is a show with me and Ash, who I was just talking about. Then on Monday, I believe, we have the bucket list, and coming up on Wednesday, we will have the continuation of our Witchcraft Labs series, Witchcraft Labs series, and it's the first episode for our props department. So tune in on Wednesday to check that out, and then we'll be back Friday for Filthy Talk. Again, we'll see you then, and until then, stay filthy.